All right, welcome into the post-game show, everybody. Dan Tanner here with Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 for your reaction to Nuggets and Blazers. We finally got a blowout, everyone. The Nuggets are absolutely destroying the Portland Trail Blazers. 156 to 101 is the score. How about that for a bounce-back game for the Denver Nuggets after the heartbreaker we saw last night against the LA Clippers? So lots to get into here on the post-game show. As always, feel free to comment along. I'd like to get into those comments, and we'll get things rolling here as we're live with a watch along here for the last about 2.5 minutes of this one. I normally try to start it around the 5-minute mark, but this thing is so over that there wasn't a whole lot to react to here at the end of this game. So they just took a commercial break on the broadcast. So just to kind of go over what we saw in this game tonight before they get back to live action here. Wow, what a start to this game for the Denver Nuggets. I thought they had a fast pace to start this game. Joker was 4 of 5 with 10 points. Like early on in this game, he was 2 of 2 from 3. Much more aggressive from Nikola Jokic. That was great to see. Last night, he really kind of started that game against the Clippers in the facilitator role, and I loved what he did tonight. He came out super aggressive, was looking to score the basketball, and obviously, I always kind of go back and forth on like whether or not I'd like to see Joker start games trying to score the basketball versus be the facilitator, because the thing I like about when Joker is facilitating early on is just getting other teammates involved, getting their confidence up early on in games. So, there's pros and cons to when Joker does that. But the beauty of Nikola Jokic is he's not choosing to do one or the other. He's just taking what the defense gives him and letting the game come to him. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Nikola Jokic is so great at the game of basketball, is because he doesn't force action. He's not forcing scoring the basketball tonight. He wasn't forcing, being a facilitator last night. That's just what the defense gives you. And that's what we got from Nikola Jokic. So that was great to see. Boy, this was an absolute beatdown. I mean, I don't remember the last time that the Nuggets had a game where they were blowing out their opponent this much. I always talk about how back in the George Karl, Carmelo Anthony era, this team seemed to blow out opponents. Now, in the regular season. Now, that didn't always work in the playoffs, and that was one of the reasons that the George Karl era wasn't as successful as I think it could have been, because the style of basketball they played, it was run you out of the gym, and that was great in the regular season. But we all know when the playoffs roll around, the game slows down a lot. It becomes much more of a half-court game, and that's where the Nuggets are at their best now, with Nikola Jokic being able to play at whatever pace he chooses. So great start from Nikola Jokic tonight in this game. I thought that he set the tone right away in this game for the Nuggets. And it almost seemed like Nikola Jokic was almost sending a message to the rest of the team of like, okay, the All-Star break's over. Last night was a heartbreaking loss, but it's go time. And, I call this this is the beginning of the playoff stretch. This is where teams are really trying to hit their sweet spot in their games and start heating up and playing their best basketball as we move into March and into April, and then obviously into the playoffs after that. So loved the start from Nikola Jokic tonight. Loved how aggressive he was. In fact, he ended up scoring 19 points in that first quarter, missed a couple free throws. He should have had 21, but the Nuggets led 41-27 after the first. Like I said, Nikola Jokic had 19 points. Jamal Murray only had 3 points in that first quarter. So it's like, okay, after Jamal's poor shooting performance last night, obviously missing the last free throw that could have sent it into overtime, I was curious how Jamal Murray was going to respond in this game tonight. Well, much better second quarter from Jamal Murray. I mean, he got red hot with about 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, hit 3 threes in a row. He ends up scoring 15 points in that second quarter. So he scores 3 in the first, 15 in the second, has 18 points in the first half of this game. So really good bounce back game from everybody tonight, but specifically Jamal and Joker I was focused on because of their really poor performance in the first half last night. Now, Nikola Jokic got better as the game went along last night in LA. Jamal Murray did not. But they both started off this game really, really well tonight, and they set the tone for the Nuggets in just a crushing defeat of the Portland Trailblazers. In fact, they went on an 18-3 run in a 2-minute and 52-second span late in the second quarter. That really is what kind of separated this game from a 13, 14-point lead and just ballooned that into a 20-plus point lead. In fact, they were leading at halftime 76-48. Or no, they were leading 76-48, excuse me, after that 18-3 run. The halftime score was 82-53. So they came out ready to go in this game. I loved what I saw. The third quarter, the Nuggets were just continuing to cook the Portland Trailblazers, and this thing was over at halftime. I mean, it was over at halftime. Now, I know the starters played in the third, but I didn't even think they needed to do that. And it's currently 22 seconds to go here in the game. 157-103, folks, is your score right now on the road in Portland. And the Blazers will dribble this thing out, and this thing is over. So that's your final, 157-103. We'll try to get David Adelman's post-game comments during the show tonight. They're showing Nikola Jokic right now. I thought Christian Braun looked really good again tonight, too. He's just taking these little incremental baby steps each game that he has been back from his ankle injury, and that he's so important to this team, especially on the defensive end. But they still need contributions from him offensively, and I think Christian is starting to kind of find his groove on the offensive end. So just all around an absolute beatdown for the Nuggets. 157. I believe that's the most points they've scored this season. In fact, I wrote this stat down. They showed it on the broadcast. So the Nuggets had 125 points at the end of the third quarter. That's the most points through 3 quarters on the road in franchise history. They had never done that before on the road before tonight in Portland, scoring 125 points before the fourth quarter. So that set a franchise record for the Nuggets tonight. That's how dominant they were. And we got to see the new addition, KJ Simpson, get into the game towards the end. He got in, let's see, how many minutes did KJ end up getting? Yeah, he got in with about 7 minutes to go, played all 7 minutes, got 3 points in. Okay, got his first NBA bucket with the Nuggets. Former Buff, we talked about him. Obviously, the Nuggets signed him during the All-Star break, and a really good player at CU, led the Buffs to the NCAA tournament, hit a game-winning shot against Florida in the NCAA tournament. I really liked KJ Simpson when he was at CU, and now he's getting his chance with the Nuggets. And, I said last night, I would be surprised if he has any sort of significant role with this team this year. I would be shocked if he did, quite honestly. But in games like this, why not get him in the lineup? Now, he'll be in the G League for, I would imagine probably most of, if not all of next season, working with Ryan Bowen down there in Grand Rapids. But, he's a guy that Scott was saying today on our radio show. He had talked to a couple of coaches and members of the Nuggets front office and asked them about KJ Simpson. And what the Nuggets love about this kid is this dude just competes his ass off. Hustle player, really competitive, never quit type of player. And he's got some quickness to him also. Just watching him in this game tonight, you can tell that he's got NBA quickness. The problem with KJ Simpson that they need to work on with him is his outside shooting and his three-point shot. He has not been a very good three-point shooter so far in the NBA. Did show an ability to hit the three in college. So I think the Nuggets are hoping that's something that they can get out of him, squeeze that juice out of him, and really get him at least to, mid 30s from the 3-point line. I think they would be pretty satisfied with that. So it was really cool to see KJ Simpson get into the game tonight. You know, he's not going to get much run this year and probably not next year either. But who knows? Down the road, this could be your future backup point guard for the Denver Nuggets. So it was really good to see him get some minutes tonight. Just really solid games all around. The starters were great. Very balanced scoring. You had 15 points from Cam Johnson, 32 from Jokic, 25 from Jamal Murray, 11 from Christian Brown on just 6 shots. And you had 19 from Julian Strawther. Boy, I don't know how Julian Strawther is going to get out of the starting lineup at this point. If he continues to play this way, he is going to earn that starting spot at least for a while. I would be curious to see when and if Peyton Watson comes back. If it's before Aaron Gordon, let me just start with that caveat, because obviously Aaron Gordon, once he gets back and plays in some games, he will, I would assume, be reinserted into the starting lineup. But for the time being, Julian Strawther, that's his role right now. And it's kind of a funky lineup because you technically have 3 guards. How important is that in today's NBA? I don't know. I mean, today's NBA has really evolved into sort of positionless basketball. I mean, the Nuggets' true point guard on this team is not Jamal Murray. It's Nikola Jokic. Okay. I mean, he's their point guard on this team. He just happens to play center. And Jamal kind of plays off of Joker playing the point guard position. And then Jamal can be the point guard as well when he needs to be. But that's the beauty of having Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray on the floor at the same time, is they can kind of switch back and forth of, like, on each possession, who's going to bring the ball to the floor, who's going to facilitate the offense, who's going to be the de facto point guard on any possession. And it kind of keeps the defenses guessing. So it's kind of a funky lineup right now for the Nuggets, but boy, it worked tonight. It's a smaller lineup with 3 guards in there, but man, the Julian Strawther shooting has been fantastic. He's got his floater, that 8-foot and in floater over the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 games for Julian Strawther has just been money for him. So really liked what I've seen from him. I said at the beginning of the season, Julian Strawther has the potential to be an X factor for the Nuggets this season. I still think his best role, at least right now this season for this team, is coming off the bench eventually. And by eventually, I mean probably in the playoffs, when hopefully the Nuggets at least have one of 2 of either Peyton Watson or Aaron Gordon back, because you always need those guys that can come in off your bench and shoot the lights out of the basketball. Now, luckily for the Nuggets, they have one guy that we know can do that in Tim Hardaway Jr. But just imagine in the playoffs, if you have Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench who can shoot the lights out of the basketball, and you have Julian Strawther coming off the bench that can do the same thing, as long as he's playing at the level he is right now. Now, Julian's had an up and down career, no doubt about it. To be fair to him, he did have back issues earlier on in the season, and I think it took him a while to get going. But boy, over the last 3 weeks or so, he has looked like he's developing into a legitimate basketball player in this league. Like, he can play in this league, and he's got the shooting touch. He's got a ton of range. So I'm really excited to see where Julian Strawther goes for the rest of the season, and if he can continue this. That's the key for Julian. He's been great over the last couple of weeks, but can he now be consistent? And that's what turns sort of into the bench guys into firm into the rotation moving forward type of guys, is can you be consistent in that? And I know Tim Hardaway Jr.'s had a couple of rough games over the last few weeks, but if you look at his season in totality, he's been very consistent across the board. So can Julian Strawther replicate the consistency that we've been able to see from Tim Hardaway so far this year? So it's going to be really interesting to see. All right. I do want to get to your comments here in just a little bit, but I do have something I wanted to share with everybody. It's just something I was pondering after last night's game. And this is something I've touched on before, but I kind of wanted to just go into it a little bit more. And the loss last night, I think, stung a lot of Nuggets fans. They should have won that game. And I know Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray struggled scoring the basketball in the first half. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter and on our show today complaining that they didn't do enough to help the Nuggets win that game. Now, I don't think that's necessarily totally false, but the offense isn't the problem for the Nuggets. It's not the problem. So in 2023, okay, that was the year the Nuggets won the NBA championship. Offensive and defensive ratings. I've talked about this a lot. Early on in the season, the Nuggets were number one in defensive rating. Then the injury plague hit and the defense went to crap. But in 2023, okay, the title season, the year they won the championship, the Nuggets were fifth in offensive rating in the entire NBA. Okay, very good. Very, very good. They were a top 5 offense in the NBA. However, they were also 11th in defensive rating. So 5th in offense, 11th in defense. Pretty good. This year, the Nuggets are first in offensive rating. Number one offense in the NBA. And honestly, it's not particularly close. They are far and away the best offensive team in the NBA. The problem is they're the 24th rated defensive team in basketball. So the offense is fine. In fact, it's better than fine. It's tremendous. It's the best offense in basketball. So I've never been worried about the offense. They're number one, but they're 24th in defensive rating. That is why this team has been struggling this season. That's why they haven't been able to put together long stretches of consistently good basketball. Now, I thought they were much better defensively tonight than they were last night. And Portland, I think the Clippers, let me just say this, are a much better team than their record indicates. I know they traded a lot of guys away at the trade deadline, Zubats, James Harden, but that team's got a lot of good players and a lot of veteran players. The Blazers have a lot of good young prospects. I mean, Donovan Clingan is a freak of nature. I think that guy is going to be a damn good NBA player. Scoot Henderson, we'll see. He was a really high draft pick, kind of had an up and down career. But Drew Holiday, he's a vet, still a really good player. Denny Advia was an all-star this year. They've got some good offensive talent on this team. But I thought the Nuggets were excellent defensively tonight. So my point with that is I don't want fans to look at this game and say, well, yeah, it was just the Blazers, okay, they gave up 103, but it was the Blazers. No, they have some firepower on that team. They do. So this was a really good defensive performance from the Nuggets tonight. Obviously, it was a tremendous offensive performance. They scored 157 points. But is anybody shocked that this team scored 157? I mean, it's a little surprising, I guess. I don't think anybody ever expects their team to score 157 points in regulation. But I'm more impressed with the 103 that they gave up defensively. And to be honest with you, it probably could have been a little bit less, but the refs started getting a little too involved for my taste in the second half, and they really slowed this game down. I always hate that when it's a blowout and then the refs just kind of take over. But that's beside the point. The point is, in order for the Nuggets to be legitimate championship contenders this year, which absolutely should be their goal. When you have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, that is the goal every year. There's no questions about it, okay? But if they want to be actual, in reality contenders this season, they've got to get better defensively. Now, with the return of Christian Brown, that's going to help. He's one of their best defenders. I thought he did a great job on Kawhi Leonard last night. He's one of their best isolation defenders, which is what he was doing on Kawhi Leonard last night, and I thought he did a great job. I still don't think he's at full health, so I think his defense will still continue to get better once he gets more confidence back in that ankle. It gets healthier and he gets his power back, his spring back. That's going to help. The question mark for this team is, can they get better on defense, taking away the Christian Brown factor? I think he can incrementally improve their defense by himself, but can they get better without Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson in those question marks hanging in the air? That's the real question for the Nuggets. They're plenty good offensively to win a championship. But right now, they are not a good enough defensive team to win an NBA title. Now, with that being said, I think they can get there. But it's going to take at least either Peyton Watson or Aaron Gordon to come back and be healthy. I don't think the current construction of this roster without one of those two guys is going to be able to be good enough defensively. Now, who knows? We could see both of them back before the playoffs start, healthy, and away they go. But in order for this team to win a title this year, they've got to get better defensively. And that was the magic of 2023. That was the secret sauce of that season. Yes, they were a top 5 offense, but they were the 11th rated defensive team in the NBA, which, by the way, their defense actually got even better in the playoffs. Aaron Gordon was one of the highest rated defenders in the 2023 playoffs. One of the highest, like top 3. So that's the key for this team. They can score with anybody. In fact, they're the best at scoring by the numbers. And they have the best offensive basketball player in the history of this game. So can they get better defensively? I think that is the biggest question mark hanging over this team right now. So we'll see. We'll see. And the moves they made over the offseason, like Cam Johnson is a much better defender than Michael Porter Jr. There's no doubt about that. But he's missed a lot of time this year too. So, I did mention Christian Brown being back. That might help incrementally. I think Cam Johnson can add to that a little bit as well. But the thing with Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson, for that matter, is their size and length and athleticism on the defensive end, and the fact that both of those guys really could guard 1 through 5 is what makes them so unique for the Nuggets defensively. And look, Nikola Jokic isn't an elite defender or rim protector by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he or anybody else has ever claimed that. But he's a better defender than a lot of people think. I remember when his first 4 or 5 years in the league, that was a lot of at least the national media's knock on Nikola Jokic, was that, well, yeah, he's a gifted offensive player, but he can't play a lick of defense. And I would always just roll my eyes at that. I'm like, well, then you're not watching him play. He can play defensively. Is he elite on the defensive end? No. But he has such a high basketball IQ. He's so smart. He's got such great feel for the game. He's got great hands, got great anticipation, that with all of those things combined, he can be a very effective defender. Very effective defender. But boy, I will say the West is tough. I mean, there's a lot of big dudes in the West that Nikola Jokic has to try to cover. Wemby. I mean, we just saw it Klingon tonight. Like, this guy's just getting going. I think he's going to be a really good player too. Obviously, Chet Holmgren, there in OKC. I'm sure I'm missing several other bigs in the West, but Joker can hold his ground enough to not be a defensive liability for the Denver Nuggets. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and hear from the head coach of the Nuggets, David Adelman. He spoke after the Nuggets' demolition of the Portland Trailblazers.
fact that they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams. I believe they lead the league in second chance points. If you can secure a rebound, you can get runouts. And we did that tonight as a team, which is something we've really struggled with. So it was good to see that. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. But I was really impressed with our defensive energy, getting back, loading up against a team that just, let's be honest, is younger and faster than us. And we got back, we loaded, made them work the ball side to side, had good communication. And when you have a night like that and you that whether his wrist hurts or not, it sure seemed like he didn't feel great last night. And then the way we lost the game. And I think for these guys in general, we've had some tough ones at the end of games where people have had really good looks, didn't go down, things didn't go our way, whatever. I do think there was a focus to this. And, we get in, I don't know what time it was when we got to the hotel. It was 3. Okay. And I went to bed at whatever. And so it just was cool to see the reaction to it. Like, they were very good in the meeting, the details of what this was. And Portland plays a lot of people, so you have to go through a lot of different scenarios of how they could play. You saw it all tonight. They 1 through 5, they went small, they went big, the whole thing. So just proud of the approach of the players.
You weren't sure that Murray was going to play tonight.
I was not.
But he did. Were you surprised at how well he moved and how well he was able to play?
I thought he moved great after the first run. I thought when we got to I think they called timeout, maybe 8-7 minute mark of the first quarter. After that, I saw like some pace to his legs. And it's just, the soft tissue thing is just one of those things it's so day to day and how they feel and where they're at. But when he got his rhythm, obviously, as the first half went on, we all know what Jamal can do. If he gets on a heater, it's pretty wild. It's crazy. He can just take over a game. So 6 for 12 from 3. Again, though, 6 assists for him. Just a really quality game from a lot of different people. I was really proud of Tim and Julian and Cam's pace tonight. Just so many people played well tonight, and that leads to, 41 assists and 157 points. So that'll help the rating. That's for sure.
Pace is a big analytic thing now. They talk in this, and just because you play at a high pace doesn't necessarily mean you're a great team. Are you guys better playing a little more up tempo, a little quicker?
I think pace is dictated by who you're playing too. If they're crashing 4 people, and you can defensive rebound like we did tonight efficiently, then you can run, and we could find lanes and get out and run. But our problem lately, it almost seems like we're trying to find pace, but while we're trying to do that, they're laying the ball in after they missed a shot. So there's two things there. And I really did think the biggest thing tonight from the last time we were here on Halloween, which seems like 4 years ago, against their pressure, I thought we got organized offensively. We broke the press, but it wasn't scrambling offense behind it. We got right into an action. We got right into our corner, our 5 series, all that kind of stuff. Just don't try to do something perfect. Just play. Just get into an action and play, as opposed to, okay, we broke the press, now what? I just felt like we flowed together tonight really well. And again, you couple that with shooting the ball the way we did, it was a fun night.
Yeah, it was a beat.
All right, there is Nuggets head coach David Adelman. Yeah, that was something I was going to get to. Jamal Murray going into tonight was questionable going into tonight's game. I'm not sure exactly what the injury was. Adelman said it was something soft tissue related. You all know how much I hate soft tissue injuries. That's what Peyton Watson's dealing with this hamstring. Aaron Gordon's dealing with his hamstring. It's just, you heard coach just say it right there. The scary thing about the soft tissue injuries is they're so fickle and day to day, and how it's really just such a long, tedious process with these soft tissue injuries, and they're so easy to re-injure. So you have to be super careful when you bring guys back from these soft tissue injuries. I mean, look, we all know what's been going on with Aaron Gordon and his hamstring issues. So, I don't know what else to say about the soft tissue stuff. It's just, it is what it is. I mean, it sucks, but that's why I'm kind of in the camp of like, you better be really sure when you bring back, especially Aaron Gordon. Peyton Watson's a little younger, hasn't had as many hamstring pulls as Aaron Gordon has had over the last calendar year. I mean, he's had 3 major hamstring injuries in less than a calendar year. I mean, the first one, like severe one was last year in the playoffs against the Thunder, and he's had 2 more since then after a full off season to recover and rehab that hamstring. So it's just it's a weird spot to be in if you're Coach Adelman. And I know Adelman said Aaron Gordon is extremely frustrated by these hamstring issues, and I get it, but it's just that they're at a point where they're going to have to be extremely careful with him. And I wouldn't mind if you just sit him out until the playoffs roll around. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks now. Actually, I think it's been closer to 3 weeks that AG has been out. But my God, I mean, it's a fickle beast, those hamstrings. So we'll see what happens. But hey, excellent win tonight for the Nuggets, 157-103. They absolutely kicked the shit out of the Portland Trailblazers. First, major blowout of the season that I can remember. If I'm missing one that was, 40 plus points, please feel free to remind me. But I don't remember another game like this, at least this season, where the Nuggets just from start to finish. I mean, you could tell that was my favorite part of tonight's game was the start that the Nuggets had. They came out. It wasn't just the fact that Nikola Jokic was super aggressive and assertive in scoring the basketball early on, but the energy they came out with tonight, the way they were moving on the offensive, on both ends of the floor. I mean, you heard Adelman say it there too. Defensively, they're forcing them to go side to side. I mean, I thought the defensive energy was up tonight too. So the second night of a back-to-back, they get to the hotel at 3 a.m. So the fact that they were able to come out with the energy that they did tonight was to me the most impressive feat of tonight's game. And to blow a team out like this on the road, I don't care if the Blazers are 27-30 on the season. They're a young team, but they've got a lot of good young players. To blow a team out on the road on the second night of a back-to-back after a heartbreaking loss last night in Los Angeles, that's a good sign. And hopefully this is a sign, or at least a game in which the Nuggets can start to build some momentum from. And we'll see what they do again against the Golden State Warriors coming up on Sunday. That game's in Golden State. It's 1:30 national TV game, I believe. I know it's on ESPN. I think it's on ABC as well. So no altitude on that game. It's going to be a national TV game for the Nuggets and Warriors. So we'll see if they can continue this momentum as we move forward. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for the post-game show tonight. Really appreciate you listening. What a win for the Nuggets. What a bounce-back blowout of the Portland Trailblazers. And we'll be back coming up on Sunday. I'm getting up early, super early. We've got Canada and Team USA in the gold medal game in the Olympic hockey tournament, 6:10 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm going to try to wake up for it. No, I'm definitely going to wake up for it. So I'll be up bright and early, and then the Nuggets and Warriors play at 1:30. So it'll be a really fun sports Sunday for the Mile High City and the country. So really excited to watch Team USA in Canada, and then obviously react right here with all of you for Nuggets and Warriors. We'll catch you then. Thank you so much for listening to In the Paint. We'll talk to you next time.